Good morning, everyone. His Excellency Dr. Jivandet, Minister of Posts and Telecommunication, His Excellency Wisot Tiso, Secretary of State, MPTC, Mr. Sean Sheikh Sahel, Google Head of Information and Content Policy, Asia Pacific, Ms. Chua Jia-wen, Google Head of Industry Consumer Product Group, Ms. Lika Maravilla, Team Lika YouTube Content Creator, Mr. Sopet Cheng, Rian Todd, YouTube Content Creator. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for joining the webinar on Be Professional YouTubers today. My name is Lai Su Huang. I am your host for today. It is a really great pleasure for me to be here for this exciting event. There are over 1,800 people registered for this event, and 500 are joining with us on Google Meet, and the rest can follow us on the Ministry of YouTube channel live stream. The webinar is jointly organized by the Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications and Google to provide the overview of YouTube, the key criteria and strategy of success content creators, policy and community guidelines, and the experience sharings from popular local and international YouTubers. You can do any questions later on, but now please comment the program. I would like to invite His Excellency Dr. Jivandet, Minister of Posts and Telecommunication, to deliver the opening remarks. His Excellency, please.
Mr. Jim Jacques Sahel, Google Head of Information and Content Policy, Asia Pacific. Ms. Chu Jiwen, Google Head of Industry Consumer Product Group. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, YouTubers, content creators. Good morning. Welcome to the webinar on Be Professional YouTubers. This is the first joint effort by MPTC, Google, and YouTube. And I am optimistic there will be more events of this type to come in the future. Today, we have almost 2,000 viewers, which certainly speaks volume to the level of interest on digital content creation, particularly among our young audience. Our seminar this morning will feature speakers from YouTube who will share with us some of the tips and tricks in content creation, along with discussion on YouTube community guidelines. We will also get to hear from the producer of Rian Todd and Tim Lika. Online video sharing and social media platforms have been around for the past 2 decades. But with the rise of smartphones and affordable connectivity, the number of digital media consumers have grown exponentially over the past 5 years or so. YouTube is one of, if not the biggest, of this video streaming platform, connecting creators to a wide range of viewers who are able to access content for free. Not only does it provide a creative outlet for artists and creators from all different backgrounds and specialties, but it also a platform where awareness on wider issue can be raised and social change can be happened with just one video. In many countries, talented young individuals are now being discovered by industry professionals through YouTube, leading to the advancement of their own careers. Businesses are flourishing through marketing and promoting their products on the video streaming platform. And creators across the globe are engaging in a tight-knit online community that promotes networking and connectivity. We are now witnessing a new age where digitalization and social media usage has permeated our daily life, and we can use this tool to our fullest advantage. As the ministry responsible for development of the post telecoms and ICT sectors in Cambodia, MPTC has rolled out key strategies and policy to promote network connectivity and affordability across the country. In fact, Cambodia enjoys some of the cheapest mobile data rates in the region. Our ministry is also working with ISPs and mobile operators to ensure our interests are aligned and consumer protected. As of June 2021, Cambodia has roughly 19 million mobile subscribers, including 17 million mobile data users, and we expect these figures will continue to grow. On the ICT front, MPTC has placed strong emphasis on promoting digital literacy and cybersecurity knowledge for our citizens, laying the foundation for the anticipated digital economy. I am delighted to inform everyone that MPTC has collaborated with UNDP and Australian Aid to raise digital skills for our small business owners. We will continue to expand the stronger with digital campaign to cover more related subject matters, such as safe cyberspace and digital knowledge essential, as well as encourage interest in tech-related courses among our students. Likewise, our digital government policy, which is slated for completion by the end of this year, will serve as a blueprint for how the government can utilize digital tools in public service provision in an efficient, transparent manner. Our webinar is joined by participants from all around the country and across the world, and all this is made possible by our widespread connectivity and accessibility of digital technology. In fact, these two factors combined have also made our COVID-19 situation a bit less difficult. Students are able to continue their studies remotely. Most professionals can still maintain their business operations and conduct meetings like the one we are having right now, while others can still connect with friends and enjoy digital content on platforms such as YouTube. This is precisely why MPTC have collaborated with YouTube to create today's webinar to share with you the key features of YouTube as a platform, YouTube content policy and community guideline, and the experience of our successful YouTuber. Before I conclude my remarks, I would like to once again thank the Google and YouTube team, Mr. Sophia, Ms. Lika, and my team at MPTC for making this virtual event possible. I hope the audience can benefit from training program, which will ensure and learn from the journey of our future YouTuber. And I'm confident that our engagement today will inspire fresh ideas and foster creativity. Thank you. Som Okun.
Thank you, His Excellency Minister, for the meaningful opening remarks. Before we move on to another sessions, can I have everybody camera turn on and we have a group photo, please? Thank you so much. Next, I would like to invite Ms. Cho Jia-wen, Google Head of Industry Consumer Product Groups, to present the introduction to YouTube or YouTube 101.
Hello, everyone. Hi, good morning. Just first of all, I want to say thank you. Thank you to be part of this webinar. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Jawan. I am based out of Malaysia. I work for Google Malaysia. I lead the industry of like CPG as well as the retail vertical in Malaysia. So what do I actually do, at work is that I actually work with brands like P&G, Unilever, McDonald's, KFC on a day-to-day basis to help them strategize their marketing strategy. Okay, that's what I do every day. Next slide, please. Okay, some fun fact for myself about myself is that you must be wondering, why am I doing this presentation, right? Well, the reason why I'm doing this presentation is because YouTube has a very special place in my heart. I watch YouTube every day. I spend at least 2 to 3 hours a day just on the YouTube app, watching all the favorite channels that I like and I follow. Fun fact, one of my favorite YouTube channel is Jamie Oliver. I don't know whether you guys know Jamie Oliver. Basically, he's a British chef. He always share like very interesting recipe. And his channel has over 5 million subscribers. And another thing that I want to share with you all, I was just thinking about like how to make this more interesting. One recent thing that I actually learned on YouTube is that I didn't know that you can actually use avocado to make chocolate mousse, right? It's so interesting. Now, I know you guys watch a lot of different YouTube videos every day and things like that. I mean, if you are okay about it, go into the chat group, type, who is your favorite YouTube channel? Which channel do you watch on a daily basis? And then what are some of the recent thing that you learn on the YouTube channel? Type it in the chat, share it among your community. You always learn something new about each other. Next slide, please. Now, today, there's two things I want to share with you. Okay, the first thing is I'm going to share with you why YouTube. And then the second part of the presentation, I'm going to share with you some YouTube best practices. Okay, next slide. Now, why YouTube, right? YouTube, on a monthly basis, we have over 2 billion people that come to YouTube every month to watch content, right? Now, I'm going to pause here for a moment. 2 billion, is it a lot? Is it very little? Well, if you are very good in math, 2 billion is around 25% of the world population, right? Now, as a YouTube creator, right, you have this audience reach, right? If you actually broadcast yourself, there's a potential to reach 2 billion audience on YouTube every month. And that's a really big platform to be on. Okay, next please. So there's a lot of people that come onto YouTube, but have you ever wondered, right, how much time do people spend on YouTube on a daily basis? Right, this is a fun quiz, a question, do you think on a daily basis people spend 100 million hours, 1 billion hours, or 10 billion hours? Type in the chat, have a guess, how much time do people spend on YouTube on a daily basis, right? In total, right? For me, every day I spend about 2 to 3 hours, right? And next slide, please. And the answer for this quiz is 1 billion hours. On a daily basis, people spend an aggregate of 1 billion hours on YouTube, right? That's amazing. Next, please. So why do people actually come to YouTube, right? They come to YouTube for many reasons, right? They may come to YouTube to learn something, to be entertained, to be inspired. Whether it's a singing, dancing, learning about a cooking recipe, there's so many reasons why people come to YouTube. Next slide, please. Now, what I'm going to share with you in the next few slides is what kind of trends are we seeing on YouTube? Okay, what are we seeing? What kind of trends have we been seeing the past 2 years in this pandemic, right? I think for many of you, you guys have been staying at home, being good, protecting yourself from COVID and things like that. I myself have been staying at home for more than 500 days. Okay. And when I'm staying at home, I actually spend more time on YouTube, watching different type of content, right? And the first trend I want to share with you is during this period of time, a lot of people go onto YouTube to find content that actually practice self-care. Okay, next slide, please. One trend that we are seeing is that a lot of people are going to YouTube to watch videos related to well-being. We see 180% year-on-year increase, right, in people watching content around well-being. Now, what does it consist of? Well-being can be meditation, exercise, skincare routine, things that will help us in our overall well-being. Because we are stuck at home, right? So we have more time to care for ourselves. So we see a rise in content, people watching content around well-being. Next slide, please. And the second thing that we actually pick up, during this pandemic is when we were at home, we were actually doing a lot of different things, right? Creating recipes, doing gardening, doing tips and tricks, fixing up your house and things like that. And people post all those content, right, on YouTube. Next slide, please. And there's one trend that we saw last year was the dalgona coffee trend. I don't know about you, but last year when I opened up my YouTube, I see a lot of videos. Whether is it on YouTube, whether is it on social media, people were posting dalgona coffee. Now, for those that don't know what dalgona coffee is basically you use some coffee mixes, put in some sugar, some hot water and whip it up, right? And create this like nice, yummy cup of coffee. Right? I did create it myself as well. I don't know whether you did, but yes, dalgona coffee was trending, in the period of the pandemic. Next slide, please. The other trend that we saw, is that, when people are stuck at home, right, they are trying to learn new things, right? When we're stuck at home, we can't go out to do grocery. We can't even go out to cut our hair, right? Next slide, please. And one trend that we saw was DIY haircut, right? A lot of times we can't go to the salon because it's in lockdown, okay? And I'm sure a lot of men in this room or like over the VC will understand the pain of not being able to cut your hair, right, for a long period of time. So another trend that we saw was that a lot of people actually went to YouTube, try to figure out, okay, how do I actually cut my hair at home, right? This video called DIY haircut had over 100 over million views, right? So this is another example of some trending stuff that we are seeing on YouTube. Next slide. So what does this all mean, right? Next slide. As a YouTube creator, you can see that people come to YouTube for many, many reasons, right? And there's always opportunity to create great content to engage with the audience in a purposeful way, right? Now, I know all of you are great content creator, and you want to be better around it. The first few things that you need to think about is who are you, right? Who are you as a content creator? What are you passionate about, right? And what kind of content do you want to create to engage with all these users? So in the next section, I'm going to share with you some best practices. Okay, next slide. Next slide. Okay. Now, why this is important? When you create content, okay, there are three things that you want, right? You want to have a lot of views. You want people to actually spend time watching the video. You also want to engage on your audience and engage with your subscribers. Get more subscribers and things like that. So these are the three main reasons why you want to create a successful content on YouTube. Okay. Next slide. Now, obviously, there are a lot of things that you can do to create a good content on YouTube. But today, I'm going to share with you three simple things that you can actually do. Okay. The first thing is around content strategy, figuring out what kind of content should you be creating. The second thing that I'm going to talk to you about is around channel management. Okay, your YouTube channel management. And the last thing I'm going to talk to you about is how do you actually engage with your community. Okay, So these are the three things I'm going to cover today. Next slide. Next slide. Okay. Now, in the content strategy, I'm going to share with you 3 tips, okay, on how you can actually create great content. Now, the first thing, okay, you need to figure out is what kind of value are you bringing to your viewers? Okay, this is super important, okay? Before you start creating content, ask yourself, what kind of values are you offering to the viewers? Now, broadly speaking, at YouTube, we actually see there are 3 pillars why people actually come to YouTube, right? Now, the first reason why people come to YouTube is because they want to learn something, right? They want to learn something. So educational is a pillar by itself, right? People want to learn about how to cook, how to fix things, or even learn about like a phone new launch, the reviews and things like that, right? So that's one pillar that people actually go to YouTube for. Now, the second reason why people go to YouTube is entertainment, right? After a long day at work, after a long day at school, people turn to YouTube to be entertained. They want to put a laugh on their smile, they laugh about it, end the day with a high tone, right? Or even during breaks, lunch break and things like that, they get to watch a bit of videos to make themselves happy and things like that. So entertainment, it's a second pillar. And one YouTube creator that does it very well is Lily Singh. So you guys can search on it and watch her video, okay? And the third value that you could potentially bring to your viewers is actually creating inspiration content, And one channel that does it very, very good is TED Talk. Okay, so every time when I go into TED Talk and I watch those videos, I learn something new and I get inspired by all the speaker, right? So these are some of the pillars that you can actually offer and bring value to your viewers, right? So figuring out, what kind of values do you bring to your viewers? Is it educational content, entertaining content, or inspiration content? Okay, so remember this. Next slide, please. Now, the second thing, okay, you need to do when you create content is remember to be authentic. Authenticity is super important. That's why in the beginning I said that who are you, as a content creator? What's your passion point? So then the content you create, it brings out authenticity, right? And sometimes you don't need to need fancy equipment to create like high production video. You can just use your mobile phone to create those videos. And that actually is authenticity. Okay. So being authentic, being who you are, right, is super important. Okay. Because you are someone that people want to watch. Okay. Next slide, please. And the next thing, okay, that I highly encourage all of you to do is to collaborate, right? You are YouTubers. There are so many YouTubers in the country, right? Think about a collaboration between each other, right? It's super important, right? This is an example of a collaboration. During the pandemic, a lot of musicians came together, right? And they create a virtual choir, right? And that earned over 9 million views. Now, why is collaboration important? Now, when you collaborate, creativity happens, right? And you can also reach a different set of audience, right? That you never thought about reaching before. So I encourage all of you, when you create content, think about collaboration as well. Okay. Next slide, please. Now, before I move in the next section, I have a quiz for you. Okay. If you actually look at this slide, I don't know whether you guys know who is this, but this is BTS. It's very, very popular in Malaysia. I'm sure it's very popular in Cambodia as well. So BTS, I think close to 1.5 years ago, they launched a music video called Dynamite. It's their first all English videos, okay? And it was record breaking, okay? Within the 24 hours of this video got uploaded into YouTube, it actually earned over 100 million views, breaking the record of Blackpink, right? Super, super big, right? A lot of people go onto it and watch it. Next slide, please. Now, question is, what kind of value do BTS bring to audience? Is it education? Is it entertainment? Is it inspiration? All right? Think about it. What is it? The answer is entertaining, right? So even celebrities, there's a reason why they're posting videos onto YouTube and do what they do, because they are actually entertaining the clients. the audience, right? So these are some example of what you can do for your content strategy. Okay, next please. Now I'm going to move to the second part of it, which is channel management. This is also very important. It's very hygiene, but it's very, very important. Next. Now, the first thing, okay, you need to make sure is after creating all this great content, right? Okay, you need to make sure that you use good thumbnail. Okay, thumbnail is like the entrance to your YouTube channel. Okay, so spend time thinking about like what thumbnail to use, right? If you look at all the example on the right, right, you can see the thumbnail is very clear. The image is very appealing. Okay, when I see it, I want to click onto it. All the food looks delicious. Okay, and it actually also show image title, right? So I can actually roughly know, oh, what is this content about? Using good thumbnail is super important. Okay, so please take your time. Okay, figure out what is a good thumbnail when you post a video. Next. Now, the second thing, okay, I know this is very basic, but I see a lot of creators, they don't spend time thinking about it. Some creators, they do, some don't. But these are small fixes that you can actually do for your channel. Always have good titles and description, okay? The video that you create, okay, make sure you have good titles. If you actually look at your right, 10 easy cocktail in 10 minutes. When I read it, I know exactly what I'm going to get. The video is 12 minutes, and I know within that 12 minutes, I'm going to learn 10 easy cocktail recipe, right? So if I'm short of time, I want to learn 10 easy cocktail, I'm going to click onto the video, right? And the other tips that you should actually think about when you name your title is actually think in terms of user searches, right? How would people search, right? For example, if I'm actually pressing for time, I would say, oh, 10 easy cocktail, 10 simple cocktail, 10 easy recipe, and things like that. So think in terms of the user search behavior and write your title that way. Now, having a good title is number one. Having a description is also very important. So let's say somebody clicked into the 10 easy cocktail, right? And you go inside the video, you go into the description. Okay, what is a good description? For me as a user, what's a good description is the creator actually include the recipes of the cocktail, right? After I finish the video, and I can see, okay, oh, this cocktail, I want to learn, want to make this. What's the recipe? I can actually refer back in the description. Now that's a good description. Some creators even take a step further by time-stamping their video. What do I mean by time-stamping? Now, imagine this. They have, in this video, there's 10 recipes. Inside the description, they will say that, oh, at minute 1, it will be a margarita. At minute 2, you can click onto minute 2, it will be a Manhattan cocktail, and things like that. So they even timestamp their recipes, right? And that's good description because user can actually click onto the different timestamp and watch the particular section that they're interested in. Okay, so having good titles, good description, super important. Okay, next. Now, the third thing, okay, the last thing I want to share with you is organize your playlist. Okay, you have created a lot of videos. Now, it's super important on your main YouTube page to organize it. Okay, now this is an example from the Jamie Oliver YouTube channel. You can go into the channel and have a look at how they actually organize all the videos, right? Jamie Oliver has a tip and trick section. Okay, so when you actually look at the tips and tricks section, you can actually see all the different videos that fall under that category. So if I'm a user and I really, really want to learn everything about the tips and tricks of cooking, I'm just going to watch the entire playlist, right? And if let's say I'm actually looking for some healthy recipe, I can actually look at the staying healthy playlist. So think about how you want to manage and categorize your video. Super important. And it also encourage audience discovery, right? And if you actually look at this playlist, very consistent in terms of thumbnails, great titles, and if you actually go to the description, is fantastic as well, right? So this channel, if you can go in, have a look, pick up all the best practices and apply it, okay, onto your YouTube channel. Next. Now, let's do a quick quiz, okay? Among all these thumbnails, okay, and the title of this video is, why can't you see stars on the moon, right? Among the title, look at the title. Which thumbnail do you think is a good thumbnail? You know, is it A? Is it B? Is it C? Is it D? Feel free to type in the chat. Okay, I'm going to review, okay, the answer. Next, please. Now, the answer for this question is actually C. Okay, you know, A, when you look at the thumbnail, does it say anything about star or moon? Not really. B, does it say anything about star? Not really. Now, between C and D, yes, I can see some stars, but D, you can't really see the landscape behind. You know, you don't really know, is it a moon? Is it a background? Is it a, I don't know, wallpaper? You don't know. But C, it's very, very clear. All right, very, very clear. So that's a good thumbnail. Okay, so make sure that you create good thumbnail when you post your video. You have spent so much time, you know, creating the video. Okay, make sure you have good thumbnail, good title, good description, you know, and organize your playlist. Okay, simple tips, but very, very important. Okay, next. Okay, now I'm going to move into the next area, which is community engagement. Okay, next, please. Now, once you created a great channel, you know, have great description, you know, a lot of people actually like watching your video. Now, the question is, how do you keep on getting the viewers to watch more of the videos once they're on your channel, right? One thing you can do is use end screen, YouTube end screen. Okay, now what is YouTube end screen? If you look at the screen on your right, you see two videos, right? There, and then you see a subscribe button. Those are end screen. You can actually activate those on all your videos. You can actually get more call to action. Okay, you can get them to watch other videos. You know, you can ask them to subscribe to your channel. So that is also a continued conversation with your audience. Now, you may ask me, oh, how do I actually activate end screen and things like that? Now, I'm not going to walk you through how to activate it. What you can do is go onto Google, search, how do you activate end screen on YouTube? And you will have the step-by-step on how to activate it. So remember, for all the videos that you create, activate end screen, because that drives more engagement, that drives more viewership. Okay, cool. Next. Now, the second thing I encourage you to do is within your YouTube page, right? There is a community tab, right? Click onto the community tab, you know, use it, you know, use it to post message, use it to post picture, use it to post GIF. You can even do that, right? Engage with your audience, right? That's super important. And there's one thing that I really, really like is poll. Okay, if you look at the screenshot at the lower left, you can see that this YouTuber actually said, hey, I'm thinking about like uploading a new video. Which music do you want me to sing, right? And people can engage. And then you can actually crowdsource idea on what content to create next, right? So these are the people that come to YouTube every day and they want to see what kind of content you're creating. You can use poll, right, to do a lipstick survey, right? Great, great function. I encourage you to do so. Next, please. Now, the last thing that I want to get you guys to do is cross-promote on other social media. Okay, if you have Instagram, you have YouTube, you have Twitter, cross-promote all this channel, right? There are two ways you can do it. The first way is on the left, right? On your Instagram, you can put in your YouTube link, right? And also vice versa. At your YouTube channel, you can put in your Instagram, your Twitter link, cross-promote, right? On the right-hand side, when you do a posting, right, you can always link the video, right, on your stories, on your feed, and things like that, right? So always cross-promote because that expands your audience, right? So remember to do that. Next, please. Now, I've shared with you some interesting best practices, right? Now, the last section that I want to share is how do you actually measure success? While you apply all those best practices, how do you know whether you're trending the right direction, all right? And the answer is look at your YouTube analytics. Okay, next please. Now, in your YouTube channel, there is a YouTube analytic option, right? If you guys don't know, haven't seen it before, Google it, you know, read about it. It's super important. Now, if you go to YouTube Analytics, I will say that there's 3 things that you want to look at, 3 metrics that are important that you should look at to know whether you're trending the right direction. Okay. Now, the first one is impression. Now, impression is basically how often your video appear on someone's homepage, and things like that, right? Under impression, you want to figure out like what is the click-through rate of those impression, right? Click-through rate meaning people click onto it, right? Now, it actually tells you this metric. What this metric tells you is how appealing is your title and your thumbnail, right? Your video can appear on someone's feed, but they might not click into it. And why? Maybe thumbnail is not that good, the title is not that good. Now, if your click-through rate is good, you will see improvement, right? So that's one metric you should. Views, super important, right? The more views, obviously, the better, right? But also look at the metric of the average view duration. Now, if you post a video of 5 minutes, right? A 5 minutes long video, and your average duration is only 1 minute. Is it good? Is it bad? Oh, can I get it up to 2 minutes, 3 minutes? The longer average duration means that the content is relevant, it's engaging. People want to watch it longer. Now, if the video is not so engaging, maybe you can think about cutting it down, right? Shortening it, okay? That might drive more engagement, okay? Now, the other thing is around watch time, total watch time, right? Out of all your videos, compared to other YouTube channel, what's the total watch time? You try to figure out like where you stand, right? Versus other like YouTube content creators. How can you actually improve? So these are some of the video performance metric that I encourage you to look at. Okay, next slide, please. Now, this is basically a screenshot of how YouTube Analytica look like. Okay, on the right side. Okay, now I encourage you to spend time to go through all this metric. It's super important. I know as a YouTube content creator, you guys spend a lot of time, creating the right content and things like that. But it's also very important, okay, to take 2 steps back, okay, and look at the analytics, okay. Go through the analytics and figure out, are you doing the right thing? Are you engaging the audience? Okay, is my thumbnail good? Is my title good? Right? Have a look at those metrics before you keep on creating content, because all this metric will guide you. Okay, so spend time doing that. Okay, next. Now, I've shared quite a lot of things. I hope you find it useful. So I'm just going to give you a summary of what I shared today. Next, please. Now, in the beginning of the presentation, I share with you a few things to help you create better content. In terms of the content strategy pillar, okay, figure out what kind of value are you offering to the viewers. Okay, is it entertainment, education? Is it inspiration? Figure out what kind of value are you offering to the viewers when you create those content. The second thing you need to remember is be authentic. Okay, just be yourself. Okay, be you. Super important. Show your passion point. And number 3, always collaborate with people. Reach out to other YouTubers. I'm sure they would love to collaborate with you. Do that, right? The more you collaborate, the better. Okay. The second thing that I should share with you is around YouTube channel management. Now, after creating great content, make sure, okay, you have good thumbnails. Good thumbnails that will entice people to watch the video. Have good titles, good description. Super important, right? Think from a user perspective, what would be useful, from the user. And lastly, organize your playlist. Okay, you might have theme, you might have categories when you create those content. Organize it and put it into a playlist, because it allows user to explore more, right? Super important. The third thing is around community engagement, right? How do you actually engage your viewer more? How do you actually get them to watch more videos, right? The first thing is activate all end screen. All end screen just activated, right? In all your videos. The second thing is community tab. Use the community tab to engage with your community. Ask them questions, give them a poll, interact with them, hear from them. And lastly, cross promote. There's so many social media platforms right now. always remember to cross-promote your content, your channel. Okay. And lastly, always remember to take 2 steps back, go into YouTube analytics, have a look at all the metrics. It tells you a story and it helps you strategize better. It helps you will understand what is engaging to a audience, what is not, and it will help you create better content. So these are the 4 things that I've shared with you today. I hope that you find it useful. And to be honest, there's so many things that I want to share with you today. But obviously we have limited time. Another source that I encourage you to check out after this session is Google YouTube Creator Academy. Okay, YouTube Creator Academy. Go inside the website, okay, sign up, go through all the syllabus. It's actually a free website where you can actually learn from all the great YouTubers around the world, all right, in terms of content strategy, channel management, engagement, and things like that, and how do you actually read YouTube analytics. Go there, fantastic resource, and be a great YouTuber. Okay, so yes, that's all I have for today. I hope that you guys find it useful. I believe we're going to go through some Q&A. Shi Huang, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Perfect.
Yes. All right. So thank you again. Thank you so much for the very insightful and useful information from the presentations. I believe many of our audience here also go and browse the haircut at home videos and contribute to those views. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So now I would like to remind our audience to place some questions that you have in our chat room so that I can pick some of those and ask our guests here. So now, first questions from our audience. What knowledge I must have to produce attractive videos and get many viewers?
I hope I did answer some of your questions. I did highlight around content strategy, channel management, as well as like engaging your community. So these are the 3 things I would say that is super important. Simple things, but super important. Yeah.
Okay, then we can move on to the second question. Could you please raise concern that Cambodia to be a part of monetization country in the YouTube list?
Wow, yeah. Cambodia, it's a very, very important country, a key country, and we are considering doing that. And in fact, we're actually working very, very closely with the Ministry of Post and Communication on it. So stay tuned, okay? Stay tuned. Okay, we are working on it. Okay, we'll be there soon.
Is there a timeline for that?
Not at the moment. But I know that the team is working very, very hard, and the ministry is working very, very closely together with the YouTube team to make this happen.
Okay, thank you. I think many people would really, really look forward to that. Third question, how to do so that I can get more foreigners' views?
That's a very, very good question, right? Honestly, there's no magic formula. What I'll encourage you to do is go to your YouTube analytics, right? YouTube analytics, okay, under YouTube analytics, you can actually see where are your viewers coming from. Okay, what's the percentage locally and overseas? And out of overseas, which country is it coming from, right? So with that metric, you will roughly know, actually which country audience actually engage with your content more, right? So knowing these insights, then you know how to engage the audience better. Then you probably like, you know what? Let's say US people actually watch a lot of your content, right? Then you would try to deep dive into like the culture of the US. So you create more relevant, right, content, for the US audience. That's one way. Now the second thing is, let's say you are actually creating content in a different language, right? And you want to engage globally, right? One thing that you can do is actually have caption. Okay, have caption on your video in English, in Chinese, whatever, whoever that you want to engage with. That's a simple way to get more foreign audience.
I see. So the subtitle can it be automatically translated on YouTube right now?
Yes, yes. So obviously YouTube invests a lot in machine learning, and things like that. They actually do auto translate. right? But if you think that auto translate is not that good, you can also do it yourself. Not an issue.
So actually, YouTube has invested a lot of money and platform and tools for us to use to expand our audience market already. So it goes back to the content itself, right?
Yeah, and honestly, if you guys have any question, tomorrow when you wake up, yes, another question. Go to Google search for it. I'm pretty sure you can find an answer for it. Or go to YouTube, search for it. I'm pretty sure a lot of creators will share their learnings.
All right, sure. So a few more questions to go.
Sure.
How to make successful earning money on YouTube?
Wow, that's the money question, right? Honestly, I'm not a YouTube creator. You should ask the YouTube creator later because there are so many successful YouTube creators. You should ask them, right? But I can share like the few things that will set you up for success, right? Like all the best practices that I've shared with you. Remember to implement it. The second thing is you need to be consistent. Consistency is very, very important. I think if you go through the YouTube Creator Academy, one thing they actually highlight is consistently posting videos every week. If you're posting every week, post it every week. The Jamie Oliver YouTube channel that I watch, every week there's new content, some 2 or 3 content. So every time when I go into the channel, there is something that I will watch, right? New stuff. So being consistent is super important, right? To be successful. And of course, if let's say you have a lot of content like on YouTube, obviously your monetization will be higher as well, right? Because you have a bigger pool of videos, right? If people want to watch, and then ads will appear, right? So yeah, create more content, be consistent about it.
Consistency, and then your audience will create a habit to your consistency.
Yes, exactly. You're absolutely right.
All right. So I think I may pick one technical questions then. Why the durations of views decreased while my channel has no particular problem?
Sorry, can you repeat the question again? Why?
So the question is why the durations of views decreased while my channel has no particular problem. That seems to me like a technical question, but I'm not sure.
Well, of course, if there is a technical issue, you should always like submit feedback. So you can actually submit feedback on your YouTube channel to see whether is there any technical issue, right? Do that. But the second thing that I would encourage you to do is go to YouTube Analytics, figuring out, okay, what happened? Is it certain videos that you post actually decrease in viewership? Look at the average view. Was it slowly decreasing over time? Maybe the content that you are creating is probably not engaging or not speaking to the audience, right? Go through your YouTube analytics and figure out like what's happening. I would say start from there. But obviously, if there's some technical issue, please provide feedback. Drop a feedback in the video.
Okay, related questions. How to keep audience retentions, how to increase view durations. The last one was decrease. This one to increase view durations and keep the audience retentions.
It's a good question. Very, very good question. Again, there's no magic formula, but going into YouTube analytics will guide you, right? When you create 2 different type of content, right? See which content is more engaging, are they watching longer time? What's the average view rate? And try to test and learn, maybe sometimes you always create content that is like funny, or like the jokes that you make. Try to make different type of joke maybe and see how does the audience respond. Try, test and learn, right? And go into YouTube analytics and look at all those metrics. Then make an informed decision on what content to create next.
That is very useful, but then it's linked to also the next questions. Similar question, but they seem to have a particular tools that they want to know. So how to increase views and subscribers for your channel based on Google algorithm. And then the together questions of this from our audience is how can YouTube encourage contents in Khmer language with smaller audience like video tutorials or lessons?
Okay, sorry. Let me answer the first question first, okay?
Sure.
Around subscribers. Okay, I have a few tips around this. Subscribers, right now. Imagine this. If you do collaboration, right? How do you increase? If you do collaboration with other YouTubers, you basically have a chance, remind them, hey, subscribe to my channel, and things like that. Make sure that you call out that action. It's super important, right? If you look at all the big YouTubers, they always, before they actually show the content, in the beginning, they say, hey, before we jump into the content, please remember to subscribe to my channel. Have clear call to action. That encourage action, right? Do that. Now, the other tips that I shared with you just now is around YouTube end screen, right? And then you can actually also get them to subscribe, click and subscribe. So driving that action is important, right? So do these two things: collaborate, remind them, have end screen to encourage subscription. So that's what you can do to improve your subscription. Of course, subscription is just one thing, right? You need to create great content in order for people to want to subscribe, right? So content is super important. Okay, so that's the first question. Now the second question, can you repeat again? I didn't hear it clearly.
Okay. But the first questions, can you elaborate more on the tools that is called Google algorithm? So seems like it's more related to how to lead or drive people from Google platform to YouTube.
Okay, Google. To be very honest with you, I don't have a good answer on this. I'm not an engineer.
Okay, all right.
So I'm sorry, I can't answer that question. But
no worries.
Go online, search on it, and see whether someone in the community will be able to answer you.
Yes, ask Google for Google.
Yes.
Okay, the second question, I repeat it again. How can YouTube encourage content in Khmer language with smaller audience, like video tutorials or lessons?
If I hear your question correctly, basically you are creating content in your local language, right? And you want more people to connect with your video, right?
It's like to me, it sounds more like how to target the niche market that speaking the same language, if I'm not wrong as well.
But if you look at all the trends that I share with you, okay, there's always a niche for everything, right? Whether it's local language, you're bound to connect with certain people. So I feel at the end of the day, just be the authentic you. Create good content and be you. And I'm pretty sure you can connect with a lot of local people, right? And things like that. Now, if the question is around you're creating local content in the local language, how can you reach out to more people? I think that's a question of like using caption, right? And I'll tell you something very, very funny. You can actually go to YouTube. Okay, there's this trend also happening. I've been watching a lot. Is that I see all these like Korean people, Korean channel. They actually do a lot of food storage, and things like that. They don't talk, right? But they're just showing you how do you actually keep your food, in a fresh manner. And they don't talk, and they just put caption. They'll just say that, they'll just type, I'm doing this to do this, this, this. That you are able to engage with even more audience, because English probably is a more bigger language, right? That you actually connect with. So sometimes you don't even need to speak, right? You just do the video, have a bit of caption, and I watch a lot of it. I find it very useful.
Yeah, that actually links to my memories of watching one videos in Chinese, but she doesn't speak. She only do stuff from here and there and put a very calm music background. And it actually leads to kind of a momentum that you can relax and watch her doing things that you like.
Yes, exactly. And when they do the things, you can hear the chopping sound, the pouring of the tea, ASMR, and it's so relaxing. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah,
that's a good tip. Okay. Oh, we have so many questions. I don't know what to pick. Okay, this is more on the copyright questions. I'm not sure if that it can be answered, but the question is, how can I cover English songs without copyright claim?
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
How can I cover English songs without copyright claim? I think it's it's more on compliance stuff.
Yeah. To be very honest with you, I'm not the best person, but I know John is the right person. So there's another presenter coming on later from Google. He's the expert in community guideline and things like that. I would say that ask this question to him. He will give you a better answer than me.
Okay. So I will skip my next question then because it's about community policy and guidelines.
Please skip. Yeah.
All right. Oh, this is interesting. What is a good video length? 5 minutes or 10 minutes?
There's actually no magic formula, right? You can have 10 minutes of super engaging video, right? And people watch the entire one. Or you have a 10 minutes that is quite boring. People don't watch. Then maybe 5 minutes is better. So at the end of the day, there's no magic formula. It's really, really up to the content that you're creating. Does it bring value to the users, right? So yeah, that would be my answer.
Yeah, and I think it depends on the contents as well. Is that
Yeah,
more
correct.
educational, then it takes more time. If it's entertaining, maybe it's less time. Not sure.
Yeah. And Shi Hong, the video that Shi Hong was talking about, people just doing things and things like that video can go up to like 10-15 minutes with nobody speaking, and people just watch it.
Surprisingly, I watched the survey for like 2 hours.
See, that's a great example. There's no magic formula. It's really, really up to the content that you're creating.
Yeah, similar questions, but maybe you have a different format of answers. Between quality and quantity, which one is better?
I think both are equally important. I think consistency is important, that's for sure. The quality of it must be good as well, right? Again, quality doesn't mean that you need to use some professional like camera, and things like that. No, that's not quality. Quality is creating great content that brings value to your user. That's quality, right? Quantity, now don't expect you to like keep on creating like quality video every single day or 2 times a day. Pace yourself, 1-2 videos a week. That's really, really good, and be consistent about it. Yeah,
Balancing between
yes,
the two.
correct.
I think this is more of a future questions again. There's one audience saying that I think YouTube Kit is useful for Cambodian kids, but currently it's not available in Cambodia. So when can we have it?
Oh gosh, I wish I have the answer for you on this. I have no idea, but I'm pretty sure the YouTube Kids team is like slowly rolling out to everywhere.
Okay, so we have to look forward to that then.
Yeah.
Next questions. It is my first time to start a content to be a content creator. So what is the first things that I should do from the very beginning?
First thing you need to do is ask yourself, who are you? Who are you as a person, right? What's your passion point? What are you so passionate about that you want to share, with a global audience, right? That's the 2 questions that you really, really need to ask yourself, right? Start there, right? Don't become a YouTube creator thinking that, you're going to make a lot of money and things like that. No, start by asking yourself, who are you? What's your passion point? And what do you want to share with the world, right? Start there. Then figure out like what kind of content do you want to create. And I've shared just now during the presentation around content strategy, channel management, engagement. Just go with the flow, but start with and what's your passion point.
And authenticity, who you are. Start from there.
Yep, correct. Because it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, right? You want to do this consistently. So that's when you need to really, really know who you are and what's your passion point.
I may try my YouTube channel then. I'm kidding.
Please send it over to me. I'll love to watch your YouTube channel.
I think it takes a lot of time. So to have a good content, you have to put a lot of efforts, right? And commitments and your passions. That's what I believe.
Yes, correct. The passion will fuel, right? The energy, right? So it's important.
All right. See, when I retire, can I do one? I'm kidding. Here, next questions. I think it's similar to the previous one, but maybe you can answer it from a different angle. Can I use pictures from Google for news content in YouTube channel?
Google. Okay, so obviously use pictures. There's no copyright issue. That I'll encourage you to do when you search on it. There are some like I can't remember websites, but there are some websites where a lot of like photographers, they post their work online, and they actually encourage people to use their work, their images and things like that. So pick up those, use those images so that you don't infringe on any copyright issue.
Good news to know then. I think this is the last questions.
Great.
How to prevent okay, how to prevent spam comments? When our channel got popular, some hackers try to spam our channel by put a lot of spam comments in the comment sections. When we delete those comments, it comes again. So is there any tips to prevent it?
Oh gosh, I think this question, check with John and see later what are some of the tips. But from my understanding, one very easy way is actually just to keep on flagging it. So in the comments, you can actually flag this is spam and things like that. Keep on doing that. Hopefully that way the algorithm will auto filter like all the spam comments and things like that. But do check with the next speaker. Post this question again to the next speaker, because he's an expert in all this.
Okay, but I think it cannot be my last questions to you. Because our audience keep flooding some questions they really want to ask from you, so I may have to inject more. Please bear with us. Okay, is it really that the new content and the rarely content in YouTube was picked up and gone viral, feed by algorithms? Do you understand the questions, or?
Maybe you can repeat again.
Yeah, I think there is some mistyping here, but I try to understand as well. The sentence is it really that the new content and the rare content in YouTube was picked up and gone viral, feed by algorithm? If I don't understand it wrong, he or she might want to ask that, is YouTube have some algorithm to prioritize the new content or the rare content? Yeah.
Well, this is also a tough question because I'm not an engineer. I don't really have the right question. But from my understanding, it's powered by algorithm, right? But the algorithm is usually powered by a few things, right? Engagement, views, right? Watch time. These are the few metrics that's important, right? So I'm guessing that it's a trending video because a lot of people actually watch it. One great example that I share with you, Dalgona coffee. Who would think that was trending, right? And a lot of people just keep on posting it, and that was the trend. And then obviously the YouTube algorithm keep on appearing on my feed, right? So is it niche? Yes, it's niche, but it's because people want to watch it, and more people actually created content around it. So yeah, that would be my answer towards that.
I think you already answered.
Okay.
I think this is more personal. Who is your favorite YouTuber?
I mean, right now, I shared earlier, it's actually Jamie Oliver, because I'm trying to learn how to cook, cook better, because I'm trying to cook more at home because it's safer and things like that. So I really like Jamie Oliver because his YouTube channel is great. I encourage you guys to go there. Very well organized. The content is consistent, and more importantly, the recipe that he creates, it's easy, easy for dummies like me to learn. Right. So right now, that's my favorite YouTube channel.
Yeah. But that also, can you share as well on YouTube platform, who is the biggest or the most popular YouTuber right now? I know it's gonna be changed, or it will be changed, or it fluctuated. But so for now, who is the biggest one, or who has the most subscriber on YouTube platform?
Gosh, you guys are quizzing me. I wish I know the answer, but I really don't know, unfortunately. But I do know that, let's say, for example, in the music category, right, BTS is way up there. Just like the insights I share with you, BTS videos, every time when they post something, tons of views, tons of subscribers. The other person that I remember in the gaming world, right, PewDiePie. PewDiePie is huge as well. All right. So it depends on the category. I don't know right now who is number one. I don't keep track of it. So yeah, sorry I can't share with you. But I know in this two vertical, BTS I know is very big. PewDiePie is big as well in the gaming world.
So, but sounds to me they are all from entertainment industry.
Yeah, entertainment, and things like that. Because people want to relax,
Yeah.
and go to YouTube and watch something entertaining.
And you can easily listen to songs that maybe you don't know what they are talking about, but you just get that vibe that fits you so much and you just like the song.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Tough questions. It is very difficult to create content because of COVID. What is your advice to that?
Now, it is true. Now it's harder to create content because you can go out, get some inspiration, in the community around you and things like that. But I would say that don't let it set you back. Be creative about it, right? Use your phone, to create more content at home. There's so many things that you can do, right? And also there's so many tools online, right? You can create different background, tech is there to help us, right? To create a different environment. So I would say that don't see it as a setback, see it as an opportunity to learn something new, to try something different. And also, right, the other thing that you must always remember, your audience understand this. Your audience know that we are in a COVID situation. We can't go out as often to film certain interesting video, right? They understand, right? So it's okay, right? Yeah.
Our audience are very understanding. and also that reminds me of the video that I started to find myself looking at a lot is those authentic or you don't have the advanced tool to use, but then you can create a very advanced views or vibe out of it, where for example how to chop fruit and then swing it with a simple line, but then you just have a little trick to it and it looks like there's a professional marketing agency taking it, and that's very fancy to watch and interesting as well. But just simple too at home, and then that creator will just take the content of how to create that to be the content, and it boom.
Yeah, exactly. Totally agree with you.
All right. Let me go through some other questions if you're not tired with us.
Yeah, sure. I'm more than happy. I think this is great, right? Keep the question coming. More engagement is great. I'm here to answer. Try my best to answer your question. But if I can't answer your question, always go to Google search, go to YouTube and ask.
Sure. What should I do? Or should I use text in the video to post on YouTube to earn more views? I think it's more on technical as well. Is tag is helpful to increase the viewers?
Yes. So tagging your videos. Tagging is just basically like this video. What does it? What is it? Is it educational video? Is it a food video and things like? Yes, tagging helps. So do that. Tag as much as possible. Tag as much relevant items as possible. It will help because it helps the algorithm as well. Yeah. For those don't know what is tagging, feel free to just search for it and you find a bunch of information around how to actually tag YouTube videos.
Okay, last questions. So last question is for our guest, our beautiful Jawant, to share maybe the last message that you may have for us or for the audience in Cambodia.
Wow. Okay. I think the last message that I have is thank you for tuning in. I think it's great to see all of you here. Thank you for spending time with us. Thank you to the Cambodia government for doing this. Right? We are so happy to be able to partner with all of you, and for all the creators, in Cambodia. I would say just pick up your phone, pick up a video camera and start creating content. I've shared with you some great tips. Do it. Give it a try. See where it brings you. Be excited about it. I'm excited about it as well. So yeah, that would be my last message. And thank you, Shi Huang, for all the great questions. It's great to be here. Yeah, I hope that I can travel to Cambodia soon.
Well, we're so welcomed, and I hope we can also go to Malaysia to visit you at the office.
Please do.
Okay. That was very sweet message, sirs. And thank you so much. Thank you again, Jawan, for being here with us. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Jean Sheikh Sahel, Google Head of Information and Content Policy, Asia Pacific, to present the YouTube Community Guidelines. Please, Sean.
Hello, thank you very much, Huang. Hello, everybody. And continuing from what Jia Wen was saying, I think the key word here is create. We want you to create and to enjoy yourself on our platforms. But let me tell you a little bit, as part of that, how we want to make this platform enjoyable for everyone and safe for everyone so that they can enjoy the content properly. And so I will tell you a bit about how we deal with content responsibility across Google platforms, and I'll focus on YouTube and also on copyright so that you can understand how you can make sure that your creation is properly protected, but also that you don't that you feel happy to invent and to create and to reuse sometimes without breaching someone else's copyright. So if we move on to the next slide, I'll just show you. I will first talk generally about the approach to dealing with good and bad content across Google's platform, with a little focus on YouTube. And then we'll talk more about copyright, how we approach that, how we try to combat piracy and support legitimate content, and how we enforce copyright on our platforms. Next slide. So I think we can move on from this one. I've done my welcome, thank you. So let's talk first about the overall approach to content responsibility. And we'll start in the next slide with Google's mission. Google's mission since its creation in 1998 has been to organize the world's information and make it accessible universally and to make it useful. So what that mission tells us is that in terms of what people can access on Google platforms and in particular on YouTube, is that we want relevant content and information. We want quality content. We don't want to have inappropriate or bad content on our platforms. That's not what our users want. That's not what our creators deserve. So how do we keep those platforms healthy, if you will? Let's move on to the next slide, which will tell you, especially on YouTube, I'll focus on YouTube, but this is broadly the same approach with 4 key pillars that we apply across other products like Google Search or Maps or others. The first one is that we will remove content that violates our policies for good behavior. But we will also do positive things, not just about the negative thing of removing bad content. We will encourage good content. And so we will elevate authoritative, good sources of news and information. Then if something is not completely of bad behavior, if it's borderline, or if then we will reduce its spread. We will try to make it less visible, less impactful, and expose users less to it. And then the final thing is that, especially on YouTube, we want to reward good creators, trusted creators that create quality content. So we want to reward quality content. So that's what people can enjoy the most on YouTube. So let's go in a little bit of detail on that. What does that mean? If we go to the next slide. So the very first thing is that we set specific rules that we call community guidelines on YouTube. And they are rules for each of our products and services. And they explain what we consider to be appropriate, acceptable behavior on our platforms. And we will take action against bad content, bad behaviors that infringe on these policies. And we take tens of millions of those actions every day. So what are the types of actions that we're talking about? What are inappropriate behaviors? Let's go to the next slide. And focusing on, so overall, as mentioned, YouTube is committed to being a responsible platform, one that users, creators, artists who are our community can rely on and feel safe on. So next slide. the types of policies that we have are called community guidelines. And so we enforce them according to behaviors. It doesn't matter who posts a particular type of content. It has to be appropriate content. We don't care if this person has got a particular viewpoint, who they are, where they come from. That's not the point. What the point is that it has to be appropriate. It has to be something which is acceptable to the wider community. And so we will be looking at avoiding, preventing nudity or sexual content, hate speech. We'll make sure that there's no cyberbullying or harassment or threats, and generally that there's no violent or graphic content. And then we'll talk about it in more detail later. Of course, things like copyright, we want to make sure is respected on our platforms. So let's continue on the next slide. Very important thing to remember, YouTube is actually a really enjoyable and safe platform. We are very careful about keeping it that way, but luckily, and thanks to our efforts, bad content is a very small proportion of views on YouTube, and we want to keep it that way. So move on to the next slide. So how do we or can we keep our platforms enjoyable and free of bad content, or minimize the bad content that our users see? Well, there's two main routes. The first one, the obvious one, is that any user can give us feedback and can report bad content when they see them, when they are exposed to them on our platforms. But on top of that, and importantly, because we need to manage this at scale, and ideally even before users get exposed to bad content, we use machines. We use artificial intelligence, machine learning, to help us identify and analyze material at scale before it reaches users. Once we have this input from both users and machines, we get expert reviewers to assess specific pieces of content that have been flagged and to take appropriate action based on those policies and community guidelines that I just talked about. And then once an action is taken, then it is logged, and it trains our machines in particular to be more and more accurate in the future. So there's a constant process of evaluation and improvement going on in the background. Next slide. Now, something which might be of interest to some of you, certainly we have a few in the Southeast Asia region, is what we call trusted flaggers. Basically, they are organizations such as specialist NGOs, non-governmental organizations that are experts in, for instance, on hate speech or on child safety. And they can become what we call trusted flaggers. They're people who will be expert at identifying problematic content and who flag thousands of such problematic content to us. So we've got a dedicated channel, trusted channel with those sorts of organizations so that we can deal with the problem at scale thanks to input from expert bodies and individuals. That's a YouTube specific program. So if we move on to the next slide. So how do users do it? If you're on Google generally, as you can see, you can go into our help center and access a form whereby you can give user feedback, and you can choose which of the many Google products you want to give feedback on, whether it's YouTube or Play and the apps, or it's about an ad you've seen. You can choose any of our products, and then you'll say that you choose YouTube. You'll get into more specific form. And then on YouTube itself, if you're watching a video, you will see on the corner of our screen, just under the video, that there's those three dots that many of you will be familiar with. And if you click that, you'll be able to report. There'll be a little pop-up window, such as the one that's pasted here, and you'll be able to mention what it is that you're worried about as a user, and that includes all sorts of bad behavior, including whether the video might infringe your rights. So for instance, you are a content creator, you have copyright over a particular piece of music or video that's on the site, but someone else is using it without having asked you for permission, you can report that through that form. Let's move on to the next slide. So once we get this input from users or from creators themselves, as we've just seen now, that gets sent to our reviewer teams, and they will remove content if it violates our policies, or they can, for instance, age restrict content if it's not appropriate to all audiences. If it's content for that is not suitable for minors, for instance, it will be age gated, as we call it, or age restricted. And let's move on to the next slide, please. Yeah. And then I mentioned the automated system. What they do is they will prevent, they will identify and remove spam, for instance. But what they can also help us with, which is very useful, is that if there's content that's been previously removed that's re-uploaded, which unfortunately happens, they are trained to do that. And so we can do it very effectively and very quickly, or increasingly quickly, thanks to the machine, something which would be far more difficult to do if we just counted on human input. So the machines are very, very helpful for us to deal with the fact that we've got millions of videos to deal with, and so the machines help us to do this at global scale. Next slide, please. So when we do decide to take action, in some cases, users don't realize that, or uploaders don't realize that they've done something wrong. They might not realize that there is bad content on their site. So for those unintended policy violations, we will first inform the uploader and allow them to do the right thing and take down the piece of content themselves if they've made a mistake, for instance. And also, we will not straight away block an entire account. We will, for instance, take action on a specific piece of content, like a specific video. We're not going to take down an entire account just like that. But if there are repeated violations, then we might take action about an entire website or an entire channel on YouTube or an entire app on Play. And then only in the most serious cases, then we will shut down an account entirely. So we have a sort of a grade of actions that we can take. We try to be reasonable in how we do this to balance the risks. So next slide, please. Now, if you think that your video has been removed for the wrong reasons, for instance, you think that, well, if it's been a copyright reason, well, you do actually have the copyright. You can tell us. That happens. Some people make mistakes in claiming for copyrights. And indeed, there are some people who make fake copyright claims that pretend that they have the copyright on something and it's not actually theirs. So we have that process of appeals here. Or there might be videos that have been removed for other reasons, for inappropriate content, but that shouldn't have been removed. An example is, for instance, you might have graphic content. It might be a violent scene from a war zone. Normally, we wouldn't let violent content remain on our website. However, if it's content that comes, for instance, from news footage or as part of a documentary, then it's important actually that the video remains. So we will label it so people know that it's graphic, but we will not take it down, or we will reinstate it if it has been wrongly taken down, because it's important for documentary or educational or artistic value that this content remains up. So it's a very important thing to have that process so that we can correct mistakes if they have been made. Next slide, please. Now, we've talked about removing, dealing with bad, inappropriate, or illegal content, but just as importantly as we need to take care of inappropriate content, we need to encourage good content. We need to empower users by giving them access to high quality, trustworthy content. And so we do that thanks to our systems, our algorithms which are trained to determine if a source of content is authoritative and reliable. And we constantly update these systems so that users get exposed more and more to high quality content when they search across our platform. So let's have a look on the next slide at what that looks like. So when you do a search, and that's true on Google search, but also a search on YouTube, the results will be prioritized according to the relevance to your particular search, but also to the quality of the publication or the creator and the engagement that this creator has. So, a creator that gets a lot of views, that is well known, that is active and that is respected, will likely come more on top than someone who maybe has only just started their channel and has got only a handful of subscribers. That's broadly how it happens. And then you have indeed criteria like quality, how long that publication has been around, etc. That helps to boost a ranking in the search results. If you move on to the next slide, a couple of other examples. If you think about news in particular, you will see publications, news organizations which are very reputed will likely come higher up in the list. So the BBC, for instance, is very reputed. They're likely to come up on top if you do a search on the latest news. So those sorts of quality authoritative sources will be ranked higher up, as you can see on the mock-up here. And then I think we've got a last slide with a couple more examples of how we give users more power, more context. On the next slide, please. So we give this contextual detail. So for instance, you might have noticed in recent months, we've had this thing called the top news shelf on YouTube, where we have information on COVID-19 directly linked to official sources like the World Health Organization. And because it has been such an important event, COVID, we wanted to make sure that users were easily able to find information on it, whichever of our platforms they were on. And you had that banner, that top news shelf, as we call it, that brought up information on COVID straight away. And then if people were looking for COVID specifically, they would have, again, access to more authoritative sources like official news outlets, well-known news outlets coming on top of their search results. And then there's a number of other product features where we try to give context to users and more choice, and also ways to understand whether the content that they're seeing can be trusted. And so, for instance, what you may see if you search for things that are subject to a lot of conspiracy, for instance, here it's the question of the history of the moon landing in 1969, and there are a number of conspiracy theories out there that claim that it did not happen. And so what we do in those cases, rather than removing content and deciding whether the content is false or not, we give more tools and more possibilities for the user by pointing them to an authoritative source. So here, if someone has searched for the Apollo moon landing 1969, we point them among the search results to official or rather well-known authoritative sources such as the Encyclopedia Britannica, or it could be again, BBC or others who are reputed sources for information. Again, the idea is that we empower the user. So yes, we remove bad stuff, but we don't just remove. We also try to give the user choice and access to a range, a diversity of sources and pieces of content. Next slide, please. We can go to the next one. So we also reduce in our recommendations when we see borderline content. So there might be videos, for instance, on YouTube that might not breach exactly our policies, or we're not sure. They seem to be misinforming users, for instance, in ways that might be harmful. If that's the case, we might not remove the video because it doesn't breach our policy, but we will reduce the ranking in search results or in recommendations. So again, we will prioritize quality, authoritative videos versus those that might be a bit more questionable. That's something we do actively on YouTube. Next slide, please. And then the final thing, which is of interest to creators in particular, is that if you're a good creator, if you produce quality content, or if you're an advertiser that's reliable, we want to reward you. And that's particularly the case in YouTube, as you see on the next slide. We have something called the YouTube Partner Program. I hope that there's members of that program listening right now. These are trusted partners of YouTube. And if you want to be able to monetize on YouTube, you must be accepted into that program. And in order to do that, there is an application process with an audit to ensure that we only reward trusted creators. The basic criteria is that you have to have 1,000 subscribers and more than 4,000 watch hours. That makes sure that we have people who are experienced, who are truly followed by a number of people, not fake accounts that have only just been created and that have got maybe a handful of fake subscribers onto, which unfortunately happens. So we want to make sure that it's those quality creators that are truly able to monetize and be rewarded for their creations. But then, even once you do that, you still have to follow a number of policies, notably for monetization, to continue to abide by good practices on YouTube. Next slide, please. We also do this, so it's not just on YouTube, it's on advertising generally across the Google platforms, and we remove bad ads. So it might be, for instance, if there's an ad that people try to place on the Google platform that is for a fake product, or it's a scam, for instance. That happens. People are trying that. And so we have a very active program for removing those. As you can see, every year we remove up to billions of such bad ads from our system, and therefore try to ensure that as few users as possible are affected and are seeing those bad ads. And we take action on the ads themselves, but also if we see repeat bad behavior, we will take action on the advertisers themselves and terminate the accounts so that people cannot advertise on our products across all Google platforms anymore if they have abused the system with bad ads. So let's move on to the next slide, please. Now let's focus just on copyright, which is important for creators for a number of reasons. Now, how do we approach copyright at Google and across our platforms, but in particular on YouTube? Let's move on to the next slide. We've got 5 ways to deal with piracy in particular. And I will take you through those 5 in turn. So let's move to the next slide about creating better alternatives. And that's really important. This is about improving access and opportunity for users to enjoy content legitimately, because we really think that the best way to combat piracy is to provide better alternatives which are legitimate. We found that, and we cite one study here, but there's study after study that show that the more that we offer legal content, the less piracy there is. If you make it easy for people to consume content legally and affordably, they will not bother going to piracy. And we continually try to improve our products, make more to make it easier for people to find legal content, for instance, in their search results, so that it discourages, it gives less access or less interest to piracy, and it steers people towards legitimate alternatives and legal creations. Next slide, please. Now, very important thing, of course, is that pirates are not doing it just because they like pirating. They do it for money. Pirate sites, actually, they are commercial effectively. And so what we do is that across our various platforms, monitoring advertising, etc., or monetization on YouTube, we try to cut off the money supply, make it unprofitable, not interesting commercially for people to go into piracy. Next slide, please. As mentioned before, we try to do this at scale because there are millions of bad pieces of content out there, or in a pirated piece of content out there, and thousands of bad actors who try to commit piracy. And so we invest in technology. In particular, we developed a very powerful tool called Content ID, which helps, which is a tool for managing copyright, and it costs $100 million. So it's not a very small investment. And what it enables us to do is have is take action automatically when our machines identify files which we know are copyrighted products, and to take action much more quickly if it's realized that it's infringing copyright. This is just one example, and we've made and continue to make on an ongoing basis substantial investments in our copyright process, but also making it easier to claim for copyright. And so now, thanks to technology, we're able to deal with millions of requests around copyrights every week. And let's move on to the next slide, please. As I mentioned before, when I was talking about appeals, unfortunately, there are some people who fabricate copyright infringement allegations, who make fake claims for copyright. That happens for various reasons. It can be for censorship sometimes, or it's to bother competitors and rivals and just create problems for them. So they try to cause problems, cause trouble for another artist, for instance, claiming to have copyright on their music. And so we make sure that we have that we monitor actively against those sorts of behaviors, but also that we have those appeals processes. And we will reject, obviously, those bogus allegations wherever we find them, and keep monitoring for those bad trends. So this is the overall approach, 5 key areas of work in combating piracy across Google platforms, including YouTube. If we move on to the next slide, we are transparent about all this. You can find a lot of information about copyright on our transparency report page. We have a regular report that we update every 3 months that details all the requests that we've received on copyright and who they come from. So if you go to transparency.google.com, you will see exactly all the thousands of requests that are being made, the numbers, and who are the rights holders who are making those requests. So that's we try to be transparent about that, so that people can have an idea about really what's behind the scenes. And that informs users, researchers, but also regulators if they're interested in these topics. So if we move on to the next slide, we're going to get into a new section and talk more specifically about copyright enforcement, which is relevant for creators in particular. How can you make sure that your content is protected and to take the right decisions? So let's go to the next slide. So it's a work at scale, right? And we do it on search, for instance, Google search. Thanks to copyright notices, we have removed 4 billion URLs, links to web pages from search. And we manage to process 2 million of those every day. And usually when we receive a request for copyright, we can deal with it within 6 hours. So we're really quick in trying to stamp out on piracy. And as you can see, it's unfortunately, there's a lot of attempt to pirate things. And we remove about 95% of the notices of the web pages for which we have received notices. The 5% remaining, that's actually often those bogus claims of people who claim to have copyright for a number of wrong reasons. Otherwise, we would take it down. Another thing that we do is that we don't just always remove, but we might do what's called demotion. That's if a website gets a lot of removal notices against it. Basically, a lot of the web pages seem to contain pirated content. They might well be websites that specialize in piracy. In that case, we will demote the entire site, so they will not be able to come up high in the ranking. So again, it's one way of diminishing the visibility of bad content and letting only the quality, legal, authoritative sources come up higher in the search results. Let's go on to the next slide, please. We do similar things with advertising, and as I mentioned, bad ads before. We do that for copyright as well. So if there are ads which are effectively a way for pirates to encourage copyright infringement, we will take them down. And we don't just do that with Google platforms. We do it in partnership with the advertising industry, and the various advertising industry bodies listed here are working with us proactively to take action against those bad actors misusing online advertising to promote piracy. If we move on to the next slide, please. Getting towards the end, I just wanted to mention this tool, which, because there's news just in the last week about it. I've mentioned earlier how Google invests in a number of tools to help with copyright infringement, to help deal with copyright infringement, like Content ID. And there is a variant that uses Content ID called Copyright Match Tool. What it does is that CMT uses the technology which matches, if you want, the fingerprint of a copyrighted file, and finds all the re-uploads of those videos on YouTube. What does that mean? If you're a creator and you have been the first to upload your video on YouTube, a video on YouTube, then you will be shown when someone else or uploads that same video again on YouTube. You'll get details about that re-uploaded video, and you'll be told about what is the nature of that reuse. And then as the creator, the original creator for that video, then you will be given a number of choices of actions to take. You can just ignore. You might just think, okay, that's just someone using it for totally fair purposes. I'm happy for them to use it, okay? Or you can ask us to remove it because you own the copyright on it. Or you can get in touch with the uploader themselves through us or directly, and ask them to delete it themselves. And that happens often enough. Some people don't realize that they are misusing copyrighted content. Some people do it completely innocently. It might be that they have music playing in the background on a video, didn't realize that they needed to obtain copyright permission for that. And in many cases, they will remove that with a simple note to them. So we're trying to give that tool for creators to be at their fingertips to make it far easier to protect your own creation. And that process used to be pilot and restricted in nature, but we've just announced that this will be now available to any creator or rights holder who submits one takedown notice via the web form that I showed you earlier. And so once you've made one request, you'll be protected from re-uploads going forward. Next slide, please. Just a final note, there's a lot of information for creators on YouTube itself. Jiawen has mentioned a lot of things already, which will be quite exciting for you. But in terms of protecting your copyright and monetizing your website in a sustainable way, in a safe way, there's a lot of really cool material available, short videos that frankly make it really easy to understand how you can be protected, and what are your responsibilities to respect copyright, and how you can make sure that your own copyright, your own creation is protected on YouTube. So there's a few links here. You can read more, view more for those really easy to watch videos, and hopefully do exactly what we want you to do, which is create, and feel free to create more and really cool stuff. So I hope this was helpful. I'd be happy to take a few questions and really, again, encourage you to create as much as possible. And I think this is the last slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, John. I did learn a lot. Appreciate the detailed and insightful information on the policies and also community guidelines. So I would like to remind our audience as well to place your questions in the chat for anything that related to copyright community guidelines, and also those that you think or you have doubt on what's supposed to do and what's not supposed to do on the platform. So, question and answers time. I'd like to pick a few questions. A lot of questions. I like to pick only a few. First one. All right. How can we know which music is no copyright to add in our videos? I think you're on mute, John.
So you want to check if there's a copyright on a song? So I think that there are a number of databases, and usually if you're already on YouTube, for instance, you will find a lot of creators are allowing you to reuse their music, for instance, or even their videos, and they will mention that. So if you do a search on, for instance, Creative Commons, or CC that will tell you that the song is available for fair use and reuse. So there's a number of ways to identify that very quickly. And if you're a creator, when you have your dashboard on YouTube, you will also have a number of tools that are built in to enable you to find out how best to use or reuse music, and when you need and how you can ask for permission from the relevant copyright owners.
So we can even ask for permissions for that.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, that's the very basic thing. And there are a lot of creators who are very happy for you to reuse their creation. So that's the first one. That's the traditional method. In fact, you ask for permission, like a quote almost, right? And we have a number of tools in your dashboard on YouTube that can help you do that. You can go directly to the creator, of course.
Okay. Very useful to know, at least for me. Second questions, I would like to check how we could apply for a CMS tool and what is the requirement to get the tool.
So the CMT tool, so it's you'll be able to access it, I think, through the normal creator dashboard. It's being rolled out gradually. I think in the next few weeks you will see it. I think it should be all finished globally by the end of October if all goes well. So it's still very fresh. We've just announced this in the last week that it will be available for anyone. But basically, the moment that you have used it, you have used the web form once, you've done one request for takedown. So for instance, you've got the latest video from Yu Huang, and unfortunately you notice that someone has reused it without asking you permission, right? They have remixed it, whatever, which is maybe okay, but they should have asked you. If you do one request for takedown, then you will be, I believe, automatically able to use CMT. So you'll see the possibility of doing that in your dashboard as your creator dashboard. So that should come up in the options.
But is there any basic requirement to get the tool, or is published and open to everyone?
I believe it's open to any creator, right? So you have to have obviously uploaded a video, right? That's the basic requirement, right? So, but yes, if you are a creator and you've created on YouTube, that will happen. So it's not like the YouTube partner program, right? You don't need, you don't have to have that many subscribers, etc. That's a different thing, right? So that's for monetization, etc. This is more for protecting your copyright. You could have copyright even if you have just 2 subscribers. I mean, my mom loves what I do. I could protect it, right? Well, I think I'm not sure actually that she loves it.
Okay, got it. Very clear. Third questions. I think this is very interesting regarding the compliance. So the question is, my content is real animal rescue removing ticks from dogs and secluded volunteer. Sometimes in my video has a little bit blood, but I have added color or blur on it also, but my channel still demonetized or terminated. Please recommend me how should I do to keep my channel safe from termination.
So can you just repeat again, what is the purpose of the video, or what is it about? You said it.
It's about the real animal rescue removing ticks from dog.
Right. So it's about, okay. So it's like it's a good thing basically. It sounds to me like you could consider it as a documentary evidence, right? You're documenting a good thing, which is about rescuing animals. I mean, sure, you might want to make sure that you inform the viewers that some of the images might be a bit unsettling. But if you have content that has been demoted or removed, I think it's certainly worth doing an appeal against the removal and explaining that your appeal is based on the fact that there's a documentary purpose to the video, and that should give you an exception from being removed for violent content or blood effectively. I mean, it's up to each video. I haven't seen the video, so I can't comment specifically, but it sounds like this is a good video, if you will, that just happens to have a bit of reality about what happens. So it would be good to inform users so that they're not shocked by the images, but it sounds like it's useful as a documentary. So that's worth doing an appeal for. Absolutely.
So this is my
Yeah, go on.
This is my just follow-up questions on this. So when there's a blood content, for example, regardless of the purpose, a good purpose or maybe we can say a misleading purpose, but will the system already sanctions it before anyone reporting it, or it's right now mainly depends on user reporting?
No, so that's a very good and nuanced question. Normally, you would hope that if it's not straightforward, a human reviewer would look at it. But it's true that in the last year or so, because of COVID, we've had to be a bit careful about how our resources, our human people, they were affected by COVID. Sometimes we weren't able to work or to get to their workstation. So we've had to use artificial intelligence a little bit more than usual, especially for the more difficult categories of content like child abuse, or indeed for violent content, right? And violent extremism. So there may have been, or there may be situations when the content is removed very quickly without much or without generally human review. That's also why we have seen an increase in appeals by creators, because we have made mistakes, because the machines have made mistakes. Humans are still better than machines. You might be happy to learn. We understand context, right? Which is why when you have things that are for documentary reasons, informational reasons, the machines will not really understand that context. They will not understand, for instance, that it is to explain how animal rescue works, for instance. And so that's where there might be some issues. Yeah. But that's where the appeals process should work, right? And that's why we have it, and why we're very glad to have it, because we do make mistakes, and that's just the nature of it.
Very clear. So once the appeal is done, then later on the account will be kind of exempted from that, or it still have to be on per video basis?
Yeah, so it's video basis. I mean, normally the account should not be suspended just for one video. It will be just that one video that is suspended, right? The account would not get a strike unless you have repeated violations. So if you have 10, 15, 20 videos that all get reported for various things, then there will be a risk that there will be a gradation. So you might get a strike initially where you might not be able to post for a week, for instance. But if when you're reinstated, you continue to post bad stuff, and you might, have an increase in the sanctions against it. But the account should not be suspended, really. Or the channel is really rare. It should be really rare, right? If you're a normal creator, like, that shouldn't happen to you. It might happen to some of your videos, but not the whole channel.
Yep. Okay. So our audience, the tip is documentary purpose, and if anything you suspect is not right, appeal. Okay.
No, that's right. You've got a potential to appeal. You should not be shy if you think you're right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Okay. Next questions. This is related more to how to increase popularity without violating Google community policy or guidelines. So the questions: if I have great contents in my videos, text, not keywords, or even thumbnail, does YouTube has other tools or technology to increasing my channel popularity, or to be watched faster without violate to Google community policy or other guidelines?
Sorry, I'm not sure I understand that. Sorry.
I think this might, if I interpret it correctly, the question is more on if there are any technology or tools for the creators to use to increase, kind of like advertise their channel popularity to be watched faster without any violations or any compliance issues.
I mean, there shouldn't be compliance issues. I mean, unless you use the wrong kind of keywords, I suppose. If you use inappropriate content in your keywords, that's the only way. No, I don't see why there would be a problem. Maybe I'm misunderstanding the question, but that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, I think it's quite straightforward.
Yeah, unless you use spam behaviors and you keep bothering people, I don't know, but yeah, I don't see the problem. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Hopefully,
Next question.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Next question, very straightforward. This one is YouTube channel secure from hacker?
That's a good one. Well, it should be. I think that's. Yeah, we do our best. Look, Google is very good generally at securing our platforms, whether it's YouTube or others. That's a lot of what our teams do, is securing our platforms. So we try to do that very actively. Then it's up to you to look after your password, of course. But that's another story. That's your personal thing. But we try to inform people and do the best as we can to secure the platform. So should be okay.
Got it. Who have the power to verify whether the content on YouTube is right or wrong? Or any person can just upload their content without any centralized. Yeah, I think that's the end of the question.
Yeah, I mean, we try not to take sides. So it's not for us to decide whether our content is right or wrong or false and true. So that's why we try to explain our policies very clearly. And actually, the number one thing for Google is we want people to express themselves. So our initial feeling is that people should post as much as they want. So we will really try hard not to take action against a video. But we don't think that anything goes, right? It means, so if it is something that breaches our guidelines, we explain our guidelines as clearly as we can, both to general users and to creators. And I think a lot of them are straightforward. We don't want hate speech. We don't want graphic violence, etc. Unless you can explain why there is graphic violence in your video. So yeah, we that doesn't mean that we will decide what we think is right or false, but we have certain standards of behavior, and we'd like to think that the vast majority of people would have no problem abiding by those rules. They are fairly common understanding.
Mm-hmm. It's actually almost similar to what is happening in real world. So what you think is right and it's good. Yeah,
it should be. That's right. Exactly. It shouldn't be different whether it's online or offline. It's just, yeah. I mean, people feel that the internet is different, but if I meet you, Huang, in real life, I want to be polite and friendly to you, and I think anyone should be polite and friendly on the online world. That you can still make jokes and you can still be creative and innovative, etc., but respecting everyone else. So
exactly. Yes. Okay, I understand that you mentioned earlier creators can just do whatever they want as long as it's supposed to be the right and good content. But is there any certain categories that YouTube want to encourage creators to be used?
That's probably more a question for Jiawen. I think the great thing about YouTube is that it's really diverse. Mm-hmm. So, some people love cats. My son loves to watch, there's great shows about mechanical engineering experiments, whatever. People love music. I love music. I listen to music a lot on YouTube, I have to say. And yeah, there's all sorts, and that's what's beautiful about it. So I don't think there's any particular content that we'd encourage. It's whatever you want, whatever you as a creator you're going to enjoy create, and whatever users create, I think go for it. Jiawen, feel free to come in at some point later on if you've got some specific suggestions. But no, I think the beauty of it is that it's a tool that we hope anyone could create, and you don't have to feel restricted by what you can create. You should experiment, innovate, whatever takes your fancy. That's the beauty of it, and then open it to the world.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and I do agree that the more varieties we have, it's the beauty of it.
Exactly. Yeah. And you can say, I think a message for Cambodian, I think, is what we'd love to have. Okay, perhaps one thing to say, it's not a particular category as such. It's local content. Have content in Khmer and other languages of the region. Make it a place for your communities to thrive. I think that would be really good to see. So, there's a lot of English content out there, but go and do your own content in all sorts of languages. Personally, I think that would be really cool to do. So
Yeah, we touched on that topic a little bit on local contents and how to actually make local contents be viewed more by foreigners, and that we have subtitles, we have others tools to actually leverage or utilize to make it happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And I do found culture content is also one of the many areas that is quite unique to everybody or every country. So yeah, why not? Yeah. Okay, one last question is actually a question to you, sent to our guest Jawan earlier. Do you have any message to us or to Cambodia audience as a whole?
Well, I think I've sort of said it before, because you asked the same question, Jawan, and I couldn't help myself. I just, I love consuming content, and I love seeing new stuff. I'm a big art fan, but I'm also a big fan of libraries and a big fan of movies. So I just want you guys to create. Just create. That's it. That's my watchword. Create. Go for it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sean, for having your time with us today and this morning. So moving on to the next sessions, we are now moving to experience sharing sessions from our successful YouTubers. So we will have His Excellency Sovisoti, Secretary of State of MPTC, as the moderators, Mr. Sopet Cheng, Cambodian YouTuber on technology and photography, and Ms. Lika Maravilla, education-focused YouTube creator, joining us from the Philippines. Please, the screen is yours.
Very good morning, everyone. So thank you, Siwang, our wonderful host for today. And after we learning the whole morning about YouTube introduction, as well as the guideline for the community on YouTube and so on, and we shift our session a bit for a more interactive approach. And we have Miss Laika Maravilla all the way from the Philippines, and of course Miss Laika, or very well known as the Coach Laika, I guess. This was one of the successful YouTuber, and she have a lot of audience. I think it's all the way almost 1.5 million subscriber, and she have over 53 million views on her YouTube channel, Team Laika. Thank you very much for joining us. And we also have Mr. Sopet Cheng, our Cambodian YouTuber, and good to have you. And I think majority of us already know from his YouTube channel, Rin Thought, literally mean the photography lesson. So I think most of us already learned from his lesson on YouTube, and and definitely most of the viewers, I think, already got to see what his ability is, and he have over 350,000 subscribers and 17 million views on his channel. So I think both of you have devoted your time and devote your life until you reach this level of perfection, as well as build up your channel and followers. So I think you definitely have a lot of experience that you love to share, and so this session allow us to maybe sharing what the best after we learn from the expert, and now we want the real message from the actual YouTubers. So you might want to say a few words about yourself, Coach Laika and Sopet, please.
So as today, Kanom Chuma Laika Maravilla. I'm sorry if I didn't say that correctly. That's actually something I learned on YouTube just today. So I'm happy that
Really
there
good. Yeah.
a dedicated YouTube channel in Khmer that is teaching people how to speak your language, and he's actually using English. And that channel is very close to my heart because my content is a lot like that. It's educational content. And I just want to start off by saying that the earlier presentation was really good. Gia mentioned that if you can educate, inspire, and entertain at the same time, it's actually what I call the sweet spot. And that's what I try to do in my channel. So for those of you who are speaking in Khmer, I want to encourage you. I also speak Filipino in my language. It took 6 years for us to get to this point. But if you keep making content that adds value to your viewers, they will keep coming and your channel will just grow. So don't be afraid to start right now and keep consistently making good content.
So Pat, you wanna say a few words to our audience before we
ជម្រាបសួរអ្នកទាំងអស់គ្នាក៏ដូចជាបងប្អូនដែលកំពុងមើលនៅក្នុងប្រទេសខ្មែរ and hello everybody who is watching not in Cambodia, and I'm very happy to be here, and thank you so much for the ministry and also YouTube and Google for providing this opportunity for us Cambodian creators that usually we would refer to ourselves as, you know, a small YouTuber or, you know, local creators. I make mostly my content is in local language, as Zong said earlier, is that to grow the community, to build our own local talents, and just because I had that concept in the beginning, I actually known YouTube since it first started back in 2006 when I was in school in Norway, and somehow YouTube has been a part of my life as an scapegoat of, you know, stress release and also learning new things. And the more I consume content, the more I realize it. Why don't I make something by myself? And I had the luxury of attending a school in the US for philosophy and studio art, and I've known a lot about photography and very passionate about it, and everything I do is always related to that. And I went on YouTube and searched content about photography and consume content from other creators in English. And one day it just struck me that why don't we have this content in Khmer? And somehow, somewhat, we don't have that many creators on YouTube who create content like that. And I challenge myself to create my own way of explaining and sharing my experience by staying the way that whatever I made and the content that I make, it has to come from my own authentic experience that I want people to at least, you know, get something from it. And that's kind of like, you know, put me in this spot. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the very good background, and you guys have been through until you get to this level. So yeah, we got some inquiry, some question from our audience. So we know that from our registration for this event, we have almost 2,000 registrations. There's a lot of people who show their excitement. So I think majority of them also want to be a YouTuber. So so can you give them some tips and tricks how to get started? And what is the biggest challenge of becoming a YouTuber based on your experience? I think you can use some tip. I think will be great because they love to hear from you. So Coach Laika, please.
Oh, those are really great questions. Let me start with the first one. If you want to get started, just start right now. That's like my biggest tip. When I started creating content, I was using a really old point and shoot camera that could only shoot 480p, and I would put a whiteboard behind me and I would write manually. So I didn't have any of the tools that are readily available to a lot of creators right now. So my tip would be, number one, the best equipment that you can use is what you already have. A lot of our smartphones are equipped with enough capability to produce good content. You just need to learn how to maximize it. And I think that is where Sophie can also help you when it comes to your camera settings and how to produce content that's really good. Now, about my tips on how you could really be a content creator, I want you to also think about this. YouTube is also a great platform for you to expand, say, your business. So it may not be like, Google AdSense may not be your primary source of income. If you think about it, think about things that you can also market on your own platform. For example, there are creators who have their own merchandise, like shirts that they design, they sell it to their audience. I personally have my own books that I've developed with the help of my viewers as well. And those kind of also help with the business model. So just be creative about it. And always think about how this one video that you make can help someone else. I have this idea that I keep sharing to other people, that if one person watches my video and learns something, then it would make everything worth it. Like setting up the lights and shooting the video and editing, it will be all worth it if I know that I'm able to help one person. So I know it's kind of daunting when you think about the numbers, if you want to get to, say, 1 million subscribers within a year or something like that. But always remember, if your video is good people will see it, good people will share it, and that is how your channel can grow.
Thank you, Laika. And yeah, so Pierre, you want to add on to Laika?
Yes, just little things. Yeah, like already, thank you for the very insightful experience sharing there. For me personally, I think if you talking about filming, you can just use whatever you have, even your phone, a tool that you can tell a story. And I always ask myself this: why would I make a video? And why would I want to post this video online in my channel and share it with people? And what can they learn from it? And what is the value of that content? And mostly it's started actually from me, is that video actually, it first started from me. It's for myself to remind that this is what I wanted to do, and this is what I can do, and this is what I can share with you. And it might be interested for you to learn something from this, regardless the views. Yeah, I mean, some of the video I made has like way more than what I expected, but that doesn't really implying that it is really useful. But some of the video that I think this is like completely a gem, and some people just get to it and then actually learn something from it, that's also can turn into a really good content as well. For those who want to start making content, you can do it. You just have to have a very good self-discipline and also committed to make it and take the actions. Yes, do it. Thank you.
I saw from a question from the audience that Super, you leave your previous job, office job, to be a content creator. It must be something very meaningful or very exciting about that. So why you decide to be a YouTuber? That question also apply to Laika. So Pierre first.
បាទអរគុណច្រើនបង thank you for a very this one is a tough question actually. I usually don't talk about this much. Honestly, I would call it as a leap of faith. As a philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche said that sometimes that leap of faith, it would bring you somewhere that you know, unexpected, and it would bring you more harmony and also more joys than what you previously thought it would be. And I understood that to be a full-time content creator, you need to have a full-time that create that content. You have to offer yourself in full to that job. And having a job and doing this, it sort of put me in between of what am I doing with my life? Is it like working for others or working it for, you know, myself and for the people? And I see back then in 2016, I see that Cambodia is like, you know, we developed really fast from where we were, would say 10 years ago and now. I think everybody else know what YouTube is. Everybody know how to make content, and being able to realize that sooner than some other people kind of like put me in a very good position and managed to, to grow into where I am today. And really thanks to the audience, especially the Cambodian people, they have been really helpful. And I would say my story would not exist without them. And the reason that I left my job was them telling me that I should pursue this. And that was a very big, decision that I made. And thank you to them that pushing me to where I am.
Thank you. So,
Well-
yeah, like you maybe share some why you decide to be. Are you full time? I can.
Yes. Yes, I've been a full-time creator since 2017. Actually, the decision did not come easy. I was enrolled in the premier law school here in the Philippines because when I was a kid, I have always dreamt of being a lawyer. But then at the time when the channel started picking up and people, actually not a lot of people at the beginning, but at the time, I think I had about 3,000 YouTube subscribers. But they were all saying that they needed the content that I was producing. I make videos on math and English in our local language. And the people who can't afford to pay for tutors or to pay for after school programs, they turn to the YouTube videos for extra help. And they were also the ones who convinced me to go full time. And I quit law school. I quit my teaching job at that time so I can focus on just creating content. It was supposed to be a temporary thing. I actually told my parents that they could just give me 1 year. And then if it doesn't work out, I will go back to law school or go back to work. But it did. Actually, YouTube also helped me because in 2017, just as when my laptop was starting to break down, YouTube chose me to be one of the members of YouTube Next Up for the Philippines. That's something that I'm also excited for you. Maybe in the future that could happen for Cambodia as well. And they trained us and gave us equipment so we can get started or keep going actually in the way that we create content. So that is kind of my story. And again, I'm trying to inspire you guys to think about what it means beyond views or beyond what you earn from the videos that you're making, because this is also a good platform for you to do good. In the recent years, the channel has also evolved. We've started teaching teachers how to create their own educational content. I've started covering topics about mental health and internet safety. So it could be just the beginning for you. Your channel will be evolving. You will be growing with it as well. And of course, your community will also grow. And a key part of that would be having the right people around you and having the right viewers who will advocate for you and who will tell other people about your channel. So make sure that you are faithful to them, that your integrity is intact, and they will be your very first advertisers.
Yeah, thank you, Laika and Sabir. So for the beginner, it's for the content creators who just started their YouTube channel. It's really difficult for them to how to get the engagement with the viewers and how to keep their consistency as well as to increase their subscriber. So they really have difficulty to make the audience attention to come back again and again to view the. So what is your strategy to engage with those viewer and the tip for the new beginner? So Laika?
Okay. You can actually look at your algorithm, like what was said before. But there are a few tricks that I have under my sleeve. Since my content is educational, I tell them right at the beginning of the video that there will be a free quiz at the end of the video. So that incentivizes them, or that encourages them to stay until the end of the video because they want to answer that free quiz. So you can always think about that. They need to have something to hold on to so that they would stay. That helps with audience retention. And when it comes to getting more new viewers, I think Gia also mentioned this, cross promoting is very important. Like the first few years of the Team Laika YouTube channel, we were active in other social media accounts. That is where I would post maybe a sample problem. And then, you know, how people will interact in the comment section. They will try to answer that question. And then I will put in a link to the video lesson that will bring them to YouTube. And that is where they will watch the video. So these are just other things that you can be creative about. You can also start thinking about maybe partnering with other companies or other creators and doing collaboration. If, for example, with me, I am working closely with two TV networks right now. They also borrow my YouTube videos and play it on TV for educational content. And those partnerships can also help to put word out there that your kind of content exists. So it's always about that, always about grinding and trying your best and making sure that each video is better than the last one. And you can also do that by listening to your audience, looking at the comments. If they're saying things like maybe try to speak a little bit slowly next time, you can always put that into account and try to improve your content as you go along.
Thank you, Coach Laika. So, Supair, what is your strategy for when you first started to get the attention and to maintain the visitation to your channel?
Thank you, Bong, for the questions. Honestly, it's very different here in Cambodia. Is that I would say we are very unique in terms of how we consume content, and because we have so many different platforms that people can choose, and like honestly speaking, we have other platforms that have more user, but for YouTube, it's a place where like mainly for video feeding, and for me, I would look at as it what did other creator have made it in other languages and also in our local language and in Khmer and also on the other platform that I cannot find, and I would tap into that and make it as it like how would I tell the story to my audience about this, and I would think about how long will this video last, as it like can they come back and look for the video if they need it. So this is one of the reason that some of my old videos just somehow resurfacing on the related video, and surprisingly they're doing way better than my current one, because those tactics actually took 3 or 4 years to apply, because I went too early to create the content, which our trend right now is that like photography back then, which is a job, it's not a hobby. But in other country, it was a hobby. But in our country right now, it's like very popular because people have many options about what camera they can buy and what camera they can afford. And that's somehow play an important role, as it like I made a bet against my own direction. And also I kind of see this like the trend is going to go this way. But so I will make content in ahead of time so that I will be the first one to create it. And it pays off. Yes. So just make sure that, you know, you value that when you make a content. You know what you're telling the audience, and doesn't matter how long it will take, it will be useful for them. So that's how I kind of like, you know, keep the engagement with the audience, and definitely collaborate with other creators. Because when I make podcasts, I can see my video as like podcast, it's like 1 hour long, but then the retention is like almost 100% because the collaboration is there. And also, you know, other creators, they usually don't talk about their personal life, that we just go have a cup of coffee and talk about things that we want to talk about, and it works. Yes.
So I catch up the last point. Okay, they don't want to talk about their personality and so on. So from your experience, what should be the characteristic of a YouTuber or content creator must have to, so that they don't just like start it and then not pursue with it, just for, you know, for the sake of oh, I have the YouTube channel, but to show, but it's not really. If you think it's a waste of time, or what kind of characteristic that one YouTuber should have, or what their commitment should they pursue?
Thank you, Bong. I would say because mostly here we have celebrity, we have stars, we have artists who they're like, they're very comfortable in front of the camera on stage. But for us, we are more like we have our own stage. Our stage is YouTube, the platform. And to be able on that stage, to be able to face many audience on that stage, is you have to do one thing that would not hurt you in the future, is don't act, don't put on a mask, don't try to be somebody that you are not, just be you. And also kind of like know your limit as well. It's like you don't have to show everyone how you how you decorate your house, where you eat, or what you do every day 24/7. This thing you have to understand. If you're telling a friends, how much information would you provide? But at the same time, be authentic, be the person that when you meet them, physically outside in the locations, how would they feel meeting you as a person? I would not be happy if someone come and say you act differently from the video. That's mean you're doing something wrong, because this is gonna hurt you in the future, because you're gonna forget how you are on screen. And doing so, actually, it helps you in the long runs, that you will get so comfortable, is that whatever you do, you don't even need to worry about the mistake you're gonna make, because we are human. But at the same time, know what you're doing and respect the social, norm. At the same time, just tell people what happens. Don't fabricate the story, don't make up stuff, and all of these things. Actually, I've seen a couple of other creators here actually struggle with, because those were the mistakes.
Thank you, Super.
Yes, if I may just add, what Bong Sophiak said was really good about authenticity. That is also very important, because one thing I realized is that consistency is very important when it comes to YouTube. And the only way for you to be consistent putting up your content is if you, number one, are true when you're in front of the camera, and number two, if you are truly interested in what you are talking about. I'm sure he's really interested in photography and videography and content creation. I'm really interested in education and in learning new things. And that is the reason why I never run out of content, because there's another thing that I want to teach. Now, another thing I would also add is that a good characteristic of a content creator would be someone who is always willing to learn, because you think that maybe something is working right now for my content, right? But maybe things will be different next year. There will be a different trend. Thumbnails will start working with a different color or bigger texts or something like that. So we have to constantly learn new things, how to upgrade our equipment, how to do better content. And if you are not a learner, it will be hard for you to be an earner as well. So think about that. Learn new things, keep improving, and just a little add on top of that, make sure that you also take care of yourself, because a lot of content creators also succumb to, say, mental health struggles, because they want to keep putting out content even if their own health suffers. So just also think about that. You also need to take care of yourself in the process of content creation.
Really good. So I know that you don't run out of idea. I think things like keep on moving. So our theme for today's seminar is about how to become a successful YouTuber. So it is very important to maintain the good standard, to maintain the authenticity, what they call it, the who you are, and how to bring on different idea all the time. So how do you create the viral video that's impactful and to the society, and so based on your experience, so maybe you can share with us, especially to build to become a YouTuber, the professional one. Please. Leka, please. You.
Okay, let's start with the question about how to make a viral video. I think Gia also said this before. There's really no perfect formula for that. And Bong Sofiak also talked about that. You make a video 2 or 3 years ago, and then just because the topic becomes popular, now is the time that it's garnering views. And that's the same with me. So I think we have to rethink the way that we put importance on virality. The kind of content that would be reliable would be evergreen content. So we call it evergreen content. What that means is this video will be important, will add value to a viewer, whether they watch it 5 years ago, today, or in 5 years. And that way your videos have a longer tail. So what that means is that even if it's made a few years ago, it will still be relevant up until now. And if in case there's like a viral question, for example, for me, since I cover math, you know how there's a particular question that confuses a lot of people. I think it's 8 plus 4 times the quantity, 2 plus 2. And it usually goes viral because people are fighting whether the answer is 1 or 16. And every time that question becomes viral on social media, not just on YouTube, my video talking about that topic goes a little bit viral too. So again, don't focus too much on making sure that this video is going to go viral, because one thing I've learned in the 6 years and 800 plus videos that I've made so far is that sometimes you feel like a topic or a video is going to go viral, but it doesn't do well. And then some of the topics I cover that I didn't think would go viral would. So it's really not about that. And I think that's something that you really need to think about when it comes to the way that you phrase your content. So as long as it matters to you, it would matter to someone else. That's a better way of looking at it.
Thank you. So you might add on, and then so we don't think we have a few minutes left. So if you want to add on.
Yes,
to
Bong,
this?
but totally agree with Laika. Thank you for this. For me, I would say I know what is a viral video is. It's like I know how to make it. I can tell you this. It's just that I don't know how to explain. But you can tell by you follow the trend, you see what's going on in other platform, you just stick your finger in there, and then you are part of it. But that is not the idea. That is not the main purpose of becoming a content creator. You are a creator. You create the trend. You're not following the trend. So I make a decision of when I needed to be viral or when I wanted to be, this, because you have to balance things out. Because I study philosophy, Socrates said the best mean to live a good life is to balance things, between what you want and what you need. So I always do this. I always follow this route of balancing things that I wanted to do. And I tend to find the content that I enjoy making is like a TV drama, I make episode. I make my audience waits for it. I made them patiently waiting for the content that I'm going to provide to them that they really need. Because these things, you have to make people realize that good thing come bring with a good quality products come with a price. So that price they have to pay for is the patience that they need, and that keeps them being with us. And those who doesn't want to be with us, they can find something else, and that's okay, because nobody have everyone else sticking with them for the rest of their life. So people come and go, so that's fine. Just accept that and move on.
Thank you, Super and Coach Laika. I think our time is up. I think we have the last word. I think we want to hear your recommendation and also the last suggestion to the audience today, and especially in the context of Cambodia and also the context of COVID-19. What your suggestion? What is your last word to recommendation to the audience? Yeah, Coach Laika.
Okoncharan, Cambodia. Cambodia is very close to my heart. I've been to your country 3 times. It's the most. It's the country I've been to the most in the entire world. And whenever I feel like I'm in a rut, I actually fly to Cambodia. It's just sad that I don't get to be with you there physically right now with the COVID-19 crisis. But I hope to be there soon again. I just want to encourage all of you, if you are an aspiring content creator, to do things right, which is something that Bong Sopyak also said. To do things right is quite slow sometimes, and sometimes you may find that if I maybe create content that's about fake news or something that's viral, something that's full of drama, if I fight another YouTuber, or if I try to fool people or hurt people in the context of comedy, maybe more people will watch my video. But at the end of the day, one thing I would like to leave with you would be this. You know how people always say that the internet is forever, right? That everything we upload, everything we put up, it's basically going to stay there forever. And you have to remind yourself of that every time you put content out. Is this content, which is going to be there forever, something that I would love for my grandchildren in the future to see? Is this something that would really be part of my legacy, and I would be perfectly okay with that? Because at the end of the day, if you are able to sleep soundly in bed, knowing that you did your best with the kind of content that you put out, then the rest is going to follow. And I'm saying that just because, and again, I've had years of experience. When I started creating content, at the end of that first year, I made maybe 100 and plus videos, and I had 3,000 subscribers. We didn't hit 300,000 subscribers until 4 years later. And it took me 6 years, almost 6 years, to get to 1.48 million subscribers. So it's really going to be a hard, maybe long road for a lot of people who want to do good. But at the end of the day, it's going to be worth it, because you know that every piece of content you put out is something that you can be proud of. So again, always think about that. And especially these days, at the time of a crisis, it's very important for us to think about how we can help our countrymen. So, for example, for me, I started creating the Internet Safety Series because you know how people have turned to scams or stuff like that to try to earn more money. So I started talking about that. And if when it comes to maybe fake news as well, when it comes to safety protocols or anything like that, you can be that voice of reason in a sea of noise online. So think about that. Think about how you represent yourself, because one thing I would leave also with you would be, it's always best to attract the right kind of people, the right kind of viewers who will stick with you through the years. And those kinds of people can always detect if a creator is just trying to fool them or just trying to put up content just for the views. So stay true to yourself, but always try to be a better version of yourself. And I'm sure the views and the subscribers will follow. So thank you for your time again. And I hope to see you all in Cambodia soon.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, what is your last message to the audience?
បាទអរគុណបង First of all, thank you everyone, and thank you for always be there for me, both up and downs. And I would pass this very specific message that I usually don't say it. I never said this before, to the new creators, to those who are just started or want to sustain as a creators. You have to let go the feeling of, you know, like we know this, monetization in Cambodia was not there since the beginning. So the only way for us to do is to find a way to, you know, invest into our dream. And I'm pretty sure something's going to happen in the future, because we are together in this and we create amazing content, and I think they see it. And for me personally, I'm very lucky, I would say, that because of our economy here, and also local brand, international brand, specific here in Cambodia, they found my content very useful and also contributed to whatever they're doing. They collaborated and they support what I'm doing until now, and also got a chance to work with a couple of international brands, very big brand in terms of you know, photography gears, drones and gimbals. And I'm honestly very proud as a Cambodian that I can manage to bring Cambodia and pin Cambodia on the map among other creators on this specific platform, YouTube, and you know, review their text. And I don't think this would happen if the Cambodian audience was not there for me, because my content is in Khmer, and now starting to make a hard subtitle, because of course YouTube auto translation system is good, but some people, they just don't want to click that. They want to see there, and it helps me, getting connected with more products, and also bring more technology into the country. And believe in your dream, just go for it. And if you go for it, you have to be disciplined, and you have to commit it, and don't treat it as a job. Treat it as it's a part of you. Of course it is your job, but when you treat it as a job, you only think about earning. But if you treat it as a part of you, you would take care of it, you will improve it, and always challenge yourself, be the better version of you, and also create more creative works. And once you stop creating, you will not grow anymore. Thank you.
Thank you very much, both Laika and Supet, for your meaningful experience, your tip and tricks, and also your passion for those who want to be a YouTuber. Thank you very much. So I think I will give the floor to Si Wang.
Thank you, Will. Thank you to our moderators, to our great panelists. So, អរគុណច្រើនដល់បងសុធី បងសុភ័ក្រ and also អរគុណច្រើន Coach Laika for the very wonderful sharings, and I look forward to actually see more collaborations that Jawan, our guest, mentioned earlier. Maybe we can see an international collaborations between Supet and Coach Laika moving forward. All right. So here, before adding, I would like to invite His Excellency Dr. Jivandet, Minister of Post and Telecommunication, to deliver the closing remark. His Excellency, please.
Once again, good morning, everyone. Thank you to our speakers from Google, YouTube, Rian Thought, and Team Laika for their insights and contributions to today's webinar. To our audience, I hope you enjoy today's discussions and were able to get a better understanding of YouTube as a platform and gain valuable lessons on how to produce quality content and engage with your viewers. Earlier, I noticed that the majority of our audience were curious about the disappearance of advertisement on YouTube videos in Cambodia, and when our country would be part of the YouTube partner program. Our team at MPTC have been working closely with Google and YouTube side to push forward the proposal to include Cambodia as a partner country, and we will share with the public once we have more development in this matter. Today, however, our main agenda is about sharing knowledge and experience on digital content creations and promoting creativity and originality. In my opening remarks, I mentioned that Cambodia was moving toward a digital economy and society, and that from here onward, digital media consumptions would continue to increase. Thus, with this regard to content creations, the question I would like to pose here is, how can we as a nation create a safe and friendly cyberspace where everyone can feel encouraged to pursue their creativities? Let me once again reiterate MPTC supports for our local YouTuber community through training programs and webinars like the one we are having today. This is one of the many components of MPTC commitment toward digital transformation of our society. We are strongly committed to acting as a backbone, a pillar of support for all of our Cambodian content creators, regardless of whether you are a musician, filmmaker, or educator. Our society as a whole needs to be giving more considerations towards the value and potential of our content creators, especially as a digital technology become a beneficial tool in promoting creativity. Our imaginations can lead to limitless possibilities. Therefore, before I conclude our event today, I challenge you to come up with fresh ideas and turn those ideas into digital content that can benefit and inspire your peers and society as a whole. Thank you, and hope to see everyone again soon.
Thank you very much, His Excellency Ministers, for the memorable remarks. On behalf of the organizers, I would like to thank you all for participating in our webinar and our fantastic speakers who tune in from local and from overseas. Last but not least, our team of Google and MPTC, you guys are amazing. We hope to have more sessions in the future. For now, goodbye, stay safe, have a nice day. សូមជម្រាបលា សូមអរគុណ